Brooks. Okay, first item is approval of the agenda.
Mayor,
Councilman Shuttrin.
I make a motion we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Shuttrin, seconded by Councilman Kilpack. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, first thing on the agenda is citizen requests and other communications. So are there any citizens in the audience that are not on the agenda that would like to address the council? Yes, sir.
I'm Joe, Sunny Show. I'm blind too. So, well, I just wanted to bring everybody up to date on the subdivision up there. You'll be voting on some stuff tonight for the asphalt, the cement and things like that. I just wanted to tell you kind of where we're at with the gas. We're about in, and they just have to hook a few things up. So, what I'm shooting for is next meeting is bringing it to a close and hopefully have this done at that time. I'm just up here kind of preparing everything. We're getting closer to the end. Thank God for this weather to help out a lot. I mean, it's great to see that old football field and track turning into a subdivision now. I mean, it looks good up there. I think I don't know if you guys have been up there yet, but it's turned out really nice. And I want to thank all you guys for putting up with me, I guess, and going through this whole process. It's been trying at times, but it's a good feeling to see it come to an end and start getting some houses in there. And so I'll be presenting at the next meeting too, hopefully the letter, the warranty and a bond or something to that effect. So I just wanted to thank everybody. So,
Thank you, Jed.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any comments? You know, I saw a lot of shaking heads when Joe was saying, you know, has anybody been up there? And looks great. Is it 26 lots or
29.
did it change? 29.
lots.
And when I mention that to people, everybody goes, "Oh, wow," you know, because we haven't had a subdivision like that for a long time. So we thank you for being easy to work with too.
Thank
I
you.
think. Okay, is there anybody else in the yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Michelle Foote. I am with Wyoming Waste. I'm the site manager. At this time, I would just like to give you our yearly update as we move to the end of 2023. For our recycling, the commingled recycling, we are continuing to send to the MRF in Salt Lake City. It is year to date, we have transported 136 tons to that MRF, which accumulates to 272,500 pounds of recyclable material. With that, we look to continue that and continue to, I guess, make the program better as far as to make sure that we're getting quality material. We're going to be sending out some extra flyers and stuff this year to communicate that to the residents of Green River. With our yard waste, the yard waste, as you know, is currently a year-round collection. We would like to ask the council to approve an alter to that schedule, meaning that we would not service yard waste on a yearly basis from like mid-November to April of the following year, with a 1 week collection in January for Christmas trees. That's one ask that we would have. It ends up being like 10 weeks through that time period that there would be no yard waste collected. Of course, residents would still be able to take that yard waste up to the transfer station and still go to the top of the landfill where it's being composted this time. The yard waste and recycling calendars for 2024 will be mailed out in the January billing, which is going to be in about a month. With our communication, we continue to send out call blasts. We use robocalls. We have a better website coming to bear in 2024. We used a third party for years past, and this next year, our company Waste Connections is going to do that, and they have specific people that are going to be in charge of that, and easier communication and easier updates that are going to be placed out there on that website. So we're looking forward to that as we move into 2024. With the scheduling, as we approach the holiday season, Christmas and New Year's Day are both on a Monday. So for 2 weeks, the services, all services, both commercial and residential, will be delayed by 1 day. There will be no change to the times or days of operation for the transfer station, as this Monday holiday does not affect that operation. We will be running ads, of course, in the Green River Star the week of the holiday. Our holiday schedule will be included on our introductory message on our phones. In addition, our app and our website and Facebook page will give the holiday schedule as well. The transfer station, year to date, we have seen 2,193 residents use the transfer station. This is actually up 23 residents over last year. 502 of those have disposed of 1,000 pounds or more. 167 are at the 1,800 pounds or more. The average for this year per resident is 626 pounds, and that's up 89 pounds from 2022. And as we are approaching 2024, the annual price increase in using the CPI from September 2022 to September 2023. As prepared by the United States Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, the CPI for the parameters listed is at 3.7%. The price increase would be effective January 1st of 2024. The increase will affect all commercial and residential customers. Of course, we will give notice to all of our customers on the price increase. The message is to be appearing on all the invoices. Some of you may have already seen them, but October, we started the message and it will run through our December billing. In addition to that, the PI will extend to the transfer station with the tonnage rate currently at $90.67 to $94.02 per ton. And that is my yearly update. Any questions or comments?
Any questions from council? We obviously have some things that we have to answer and kind of get back with her on, particularly in a timely manner. One is this winter, kind of a change for pickup for yard waste, which.
And that yard waste.
If it wasn't for all the, I was going to say darn leaves in a different way, we wouldn't be having yard waste being picked up through December like at least mine is been filled late. Normally that's not the case. Anyway, the time frame that you're looking at, I think is from what I've heard from the council, I think is fairly well supported. It makes sense. And if we can save a little money somehow through it, that's also come up too, obviously.
And I think with the yard waste, for sure, it's one of those that it can be curtailed a little bit year to year. I mean, where we've had such a nice time up till now, we can, through communication, let everybody know that, hey, we're going to continue yard waste for, because of, extra leaves or whatever is going on out there. But, if it happens to snow the 1st of November and we have snow on the ground and nobody can rake leaves, we might, move it up. But, I think that's definitely communication wise that we can, give to both the council and the city of Green River.
Makes sense. Go ahead, Councilman.
Mayor, do we need to make is that a change to your contract to the yard waste? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
a change?
Yes, sir. Would be.
So if that's a change to the contract, don't we have to vote on something to allow that change?
Yes.
Somebody would have to make a motion to make that change?
Yeah.
If you want that done tonight, does that need to be done?
I think the staff can prepare something for us and we can do it at the
It'll be put on
next
later.
meeting, actually, 2 weeks.
We can't take action on it tonight.
We can do that, can't we? Okay. That's what we'll do. Everybody agree? Okay. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Is there anybody else that's not on the agenda that would like to address the council? Okay, I'm going to move into resolutions. Item A, consideration of, well, wait a second. Did you guys, does anybody want to make a break? You can just walk out quietly or whatever if you're done. I won't call for a recess. So consideration of a resolution approving a restricted donation program for the Green River Arts Council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Katie Duncombe, Director of Parks and Recreation. The Parks and Recreation Department, in cooperation with the Green River Arts Council, is asking for a restricted donation fund be made available for any fundraising events that the Arts Council does. Those have included the silent auction during Art on the Green, the Light Fest event, art commissions when we put art out to the public, like for our Green River Rec Center art rotation. And those funds will just be used for any projects or programs within the city that just fulfill the mission of the Arts Council. So does anybody have any questions about that?
Pretty straightforward. I think everybody's heard about this a little bit. Any questions? Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Real quick, just the auditor and me. So it's going to be a separate bank account, jail line item. I'm sure Chris can answer that question. I just want to double check.
I'm going to let Chris answer that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We'll treat that as our other restricted accounts. We have separate GL and accounting for that. Our controller will work in hand with the Arts Council and Katie to make sure those accounts are restricted and designated as designated. The program you're approving tonight allows them to do a combination of those two programs without us bringing every donation and every program back up to you guys to restrict and designate those accounts. But we will keep those in place. Our auditor will review those. And have those restrictions in place. This financial catalyst might be, as we've talked, they've used the development fund and the community chest in the past. We might be a 3-month financial catalyst for them, or we might be a 10-year. We'd be happy to be a long-term partner with this group, but sometimes the government moves a little slower on how fast we can spend funds and what they need. So we definitely want to keep a good partnership with them and help them in any way we can to continue and move the program forward.
Thank you.
Chris, I have a question. Looking at the papers here that support papers for this motion, it says that the development fund balance as of 11/13/23 is the city of Green River owes the Art Council $23,860. Now, is that an amount of money that we're going to write a check to them, or is that going to be held in that fund?
No, we're going to hold that in the restricted accounts and deal with that. There's some true ups since those funds were a little frozen due to the incident we had on that earlier. They utilized some of the funds that they had set aside for art to run that program. We're going to work in a mid-year budget review to make sure all that happens and they get the funds that the council designated for them to purchase art and that within the budget. That's all going to be coming in a budget review. Red tape and cleanup is yet to come, but the $23,000 that is in the development fund, that check is going to come to us with a restriction on it that it has to be used for the Arts Council. So with that restriction, it has to go to the mission of the Arts Council. It can't be turned and moved in any other direction. Well, this is real similar to our programs we have for the animal control and the SRO program and a few of those others.
Well, as that development fund continues to grow, as everything's resolved and we move forward, does the Art Council have to request to get money out of that fund?
Yeah. So some of the policies and procedures we'll have is we have to run it through our standard budgeting process, and that even though it is restricted funds, the council can't use that for anything other than that restriction. We still do have to deal with our our statutory requirements of going through abundant budget and expenditure statements in that. And we will work with them coincidentally to get in something so we don't have to come to you every single time we want to use the funds in a program, so they can work with that and try to make it as easily and painless as possible. Like I mentioned earlier, we have this in two separate funds. Not our SRO program, but the SROs run a program similar to it, where they can buy and do materials for the kids and that. And when they run their teaching programs, they have a budget line item. The money comes in, we ensure it's good. They don't come to council every time. The animal control runs a very similar program where they just leave their money in and they want to hold that for larger specific projects. So they come and ask you for a resolution each time. So there's multiple ways to handle this. We're going to try to make it as easily and painless for the council and the Grand River Arts Council, so they can also fulfill their mission as good and fast as possible as we can for a government agency.
Thank you.
Mayor. I move to approve the resolution approving our restricted donation program for the Green River Arts Council.
Oops, it's been moved by Councilman Bushman, seconded by Councilman Williams. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Thank you, ladies. Council action items. Item A, consideration to release a portion of the Seneschal Edition standby letter of credit.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Mark Westensco, Public Works Director. We were pleased to hear from Mr. Seneschal a few minutes ago with the status report on the subdivision. Our ordinance allows the release of the letter of credit or the security up to 75%. And as Mr. Seneschal described, the work is more than 75% complete. We're really close to being done. We're hoping to be able to get that thing done in the next couple of weeks. But the maximum we're allowed to through by the ordinance is to release at this time is up to 75%. And that's what this amount gets us to. When he is able to have the final, that's when we'll do the remainder of the release. And he'll also bring forward a maintenance bond for the 1 year warranty period.
Thank you, Mark. Does anybody have any questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Councilman Shuttron.
I move to approve the partial release in the amount of $233,726.15 from standby letter of credit number 203567 issued by State Bank for the installation of subdivision improvements installation in the Seneschal Edition.
Second that.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Shuttron, seconded by Councilman Jost. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Mark. Next up is a consideration of a change order number 1 for the 2023 pavement preservation project. Thanks, Joe.
So as we've discussed before on each project, we get to the end of the project, we start counting up what the actual amounts installed include. In this particular case, we had our pavement preservation job, our patching job. And when we got on site, the contractor proposed to do a slight different method of removal. Rather than chunking out small sections, they brought in a mill that allowed us to get longer and more substantial patches, particularly on Riverview and on Bridger. That did result in some overruns on the asphalt. There were some savings on the base. So, but I think we got a better product because of it. And I'm, there are good change orders, there are bad change orders, and there are change orders that are just okay, that just cover the cost. This one covers the cost, but I don't think it's a bad one. We got a good product out of this. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Does anybody have any questions for Mark on this? I think we've all kind of seen what's going on in the community. Okay, we'll have a motion.
Mayor,
Councilman Jost.
I move that we approve the change order number 1 for the 2023 pavement preservation project in the amount of $85,150 and authorize the mayor to sign the change order.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Joe, seconded by Councilman Bushman. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Consideration, let's see, of an agreement with Axon Enterprise.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sean Strolikson, Police Department. The energy weapon that we currently outfit our officers with is the Taser X2. We were informed a couple months ago that Axon Enterprise, who owns Taser, is no longer going to support that weapon, either with maintenance or product. So they are currently offering their newest weapon, the Taser 10, at a pretty significant discount. So we worked out a quote and a contract with them to replace all of our X2s with the Taser 10. And so there is a standard customer agreement with that, and we're just asking for approval for that customer agreement tonight so we can move forward with that purchase.
Okay, does anybody have any questions of Sean? Okay, we'll entertain a motion. Oh, go ahead, Councilman Joyce.
Trying to see if I missed it in the reading there. But what is the actual cost of that? It's not shown in the agreement there. Well, that's he
It's
shows me here now. That's what I
just a
looked-
little over $118,000. They have worked out an agreement with us to allow us to pay that over a 5-year period. So it's a little over $22,000 a year.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Councilman Kilpack.
I move to approve the agreement with Axon Enterprise Incorporated for the purchase of Taser 10 energy weapons for the GRPD and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement pending legal approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Kilpack, seconded by Councilman Berg. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item D, consideration to award the bid for a Cisco Fabric Interconnect to A&M Inc., whatever that means.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll put on my other hat tonight. That's a bunch of geek speak for a very expensive box, if we put it that way. The Fabric Interconnect is a system that connects our servers with the rest of our network in it. We run a Cisco HyperFlex system, so we have to have a Cisco interconnecting ducting with that. It does a lot more than just connect, but it's got a lot of programming in that to it. Our current one end of life's in about 9 months. We think this will give us time to bring this one in, put it in play in that. It's a little over $107,000, 108, 107, 108. They may break a little bit of price reduction on that if the installation is less time than anticipated, but we have $100,000 in the current budget, and so we scraped together another $8,000 to pay for that out of the IT budget because we either have a network or we don't. So it was worth it for that. With that, A&M was the only bidder that supplied all the required documents as well. The other bidder didn't bid the installation per bid specs, and they didn't submit a bid bond as well either. So they were thrown out as a non-compliant bid, but it was only 107. There was only about $900 difference between the two bids. So that was, it's good to see bidding that close.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Does anybody have any questions of Chris?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilman.
You said the cost was 108,000?
Just a few dollars over 108,000. Yes, sir.
I was just looking in here on their paper that you've given us for support paper from A&M or whatever it is.
A&M, yes.
It shows a total of 95,000. Is there a difference between that?
So the 95,000 is just the equipment. That's the Fabric Interconnect itself. The remainder of the difference is installation fees on that.
Okay.
Yeah, their agreement's got a whole lot of moving parts to it, and kind of when I send it to Galen, he kind of says, "Why do you send me this stuff?" Usually, because there's a lot of moving parts in that today, and all these IT agreements have a lot of moving parts to them. But the installation is the other amount of that, and they'll have someone come up on site and fully install that for us.
Thank you.
We're hoping for less than a few hours downtime on the whole network.
It is
on page 56.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I didn't get that far.
Good question, Council.
Yeah, I always send Galen Long agreements too, and he likes them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Councilwoman Bushman.
I just had a question, Chris. So at the project kickoff, I know when we implemented software or, anything really, they have a concierge service that's part of the project itself. Do you have that with like a customer service, a personal person that's going to help you through it if anything goes awry for like 90 days? Sometimes it's part of the
Yeah, on this
Part of
one,
it.
this has got the twofold to it. It also runs under our Cisco SmartNet software maintenance agreements, which we pay a significant amount for each year. So not only will we have the customer service team for the install, we'll have Cisco as well, and they both support this. So they'll actually work in conjunction with our Cisco representatives and A&M's representatives and my IT team, all three together to coincide and do this. So while their IT team, while the project manager's IT team has a warranty period per se, we also have it with Cisco to fix anything in there. And it's also a combined interagency agreement with all three entities. So we all kind of have to play on the same page and play nice with each other. So if something does go awry, it's fixed very quickly.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And we have a really good relationship with A&M. We've been working with them for several years. They've done several projects for us, and they've done a very nice job.
Okay, good. Because that's always needed, that customer service end of it.
Yeah, the software engineer that's working on this project with us, we've worked with Tim for probably 10 plus years, so we know him very well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. Any other questions? Okay, we'll have a motion.
Mayor,
Who was that? Councilman Chetron.
I move to award the bid to A&M Incorporated for the purchase and installation of the city's Cisco Fabric Interconnect in the amount of $108,183.48 and authorize the mayor to sign the required purchasing documents.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Chetron, second by Councilman Williams. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Item E, consideration of a service agreement addendum with the YWA Center for Families and Children. The city council would like to amend the current services agreement with the YWA Center for Families and Children to include advertising and events and increase the amount of the contract by $500. We've all talked about this. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Councilman Kilpack.
I move to approve the addendum to the service agreement to the YWCA Center for Families and Children and authorize the mayor to sign the addendum.
Second.
Okay, it's moved by Councilman Kilpack, seconded by Councilman Chetron. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Councilman Chetron.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Chetron, seconded by Councilman Berg. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. City Administrator.
Yeah, thank you. The first thing I wanted to share is that we've had a couple of questions regarding the freezing pipes and what's going on there. So Jason Palmer with the Utilities Division and his group, they put together a flyer that's going to be going out in all of the bills. It actually shows what to do, how to keep your house warmer, insulate, all that kind of stuff, but it also shows the responsibility areas of the water line between the city and within the residence or the business. That'll go out in the next billing cycle once we get it approved. Of course, it'll go out in multiple other formats as well. We'll post on the website. We'll do some media stuff on there and keep that going because as we're starting to get into that season. I'll let Mayor Russ talk about the tax collections for the month, but I was going to talk about the tax collections on the 6 penny. You had received that communication in one of our updates, but that is going well. And Ryan has put together some, and Chris, looking at some of the data, why that's seems to be a little bit of a head. We're trying to analyze some of that because the state's not very forthcoming in where all those pieces come from. And, breaking that down, you can get it broken out at state level, but not really at the county level. So we're going to try to analyze that. And we'll just get that out to you probably in the next meeting, just our next, update that we have. But, right now we're trending, instead of a 5-year return, to pay that, 6 penny down. Right now we're sitting at about 3 years, 9 months. So that's a pretty big jump, pretty quick. Which is good for us in terms of how we move forward with it and not bonding it. I think we're getting we've already collected enough to get one of the projects rolling. And now that Mark didn't introduce, but we have a new engineer that had just started here this past week. He's already starting to do some of the road design work and getting involved in that aspect of it. So, and the last thing is we did meet today regarding the request for proposal on the Flaming Gorge Days. We're still moving forward with that. It's going good. And we should have that in front of council to go out and get it out, advertised here over the next few weeks and have that presented to council here coming up in probably the first meeting in February is what it's kind of when we did the timeline, but just letting you know that's progressing forward. And so I thought I had no report, Your Honor, but that was a little longer than expected. So thanks.
Very good. Galen?
I would have no report tonight, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Galen. How about Councilman Kilpack? You want to start, Gary?
I just have one question to get for Galen. I'm on that 6 penny committee, and I don't know if you can answer this right now, but if you can get back to me with the question's been asked is can we use some of the funds to put up signs that say this is done with 6 penny, or do we have to use city funds to do that? Because what we're trying to do is to make sure that all the citizens in the whole county realize that all this stuff is being done by 6 penny funds, so to help us promote it. My answer to that was yes, we could do that, because the 6 penny funds, it doesn't say you have to buy 6 bolts and 2 pencils and so I just don't know if that's illegal. I don't need the answer tonight, but we're going to be meeting in a couple weeks, and I know they're going to check some angles, but I wanted to ask that question with you, and if I'd have remembered, I'd have asked you before the meeting, but I'm the same age as Pete, and sometimes I forget.
Well, Councilman Kilpack, I'd like to take a look at that before I get back to you. I've got a sense of what I think it ought to be, but
okay.
That isn't always how the legislature feels about it.
Just remember, by the next council meeting, I might have forgot I asked you the question. Thank you. That's all I have there.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Williams. Thank you, Councilman Williams. Councilman Jost.
I just want to thank all the work that got put in for the Christmas tree lighting. It was a real enjoyable night, and a lot of people showed up. Kids were there getting s'mores, were all over the place, and then Santa Claus and everything. It was just an enjoyable night. A little cool, but not bad. So I just appreciate all the work everybody did. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Shetron.
I have nothing to report this evening, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Byrd.
Yes, I was gonna bring up today the lighting down on East Teton, down by the waste treatment plant, and find out who was responsible for that lighting. As I go to work about 6:50 every morning, so I'm driving down past there, and the workers that are working at the waste treatment plant are crossing that crosswalk right there. And I was actually going to think about rerouting how I went to work because of the lighting situation down there. There's been multiple times that I've seen the workers have to dodge out of the way because a vehicle just didn't see them. But then yesterday and today, as I was driving down through there, I noticed that not only was the light working, but the one right there specifically at the crosswalk is probably brighter than every other street light down East Teton. So whoever did that, thank you very much. That was, I think, gonna become an issue if we didn't address it. So
actually that also came up here earlier today too. And we're gonna look at maybe just having a flashing orange just on the side of the street. Because it's getting darker, whatever, and walking across it. Some of them they have to wear the reflective vest and then you can see it, but others they're already taken off going through. But we'll talk to streets tomorrow about adding just a flashing orange light or having Bodell add that flashing orange light just
That'd
there
be a
for
good idea
that
too.
time frame.
Yeah, it was one of those with no light right there because it seemed like that one was actually out at some point. And so even with the reflective vest, you didn't see him until your headlights hit him. And it was kind of sketchy.
Rocky Mountain Power is updating a lot of the lights throughout the city at this point in time.
But
too,
yeah,
so.
the last 2 days, it's been 100% better. So thank you to whoever did that.
Good.
That's all I've got.
Thank you, Councilman Berg. Councilwoman Bushman.
Thank you, Mayor. That's good. I just want to compliment the streets, putting all the Christmas lights up. I always love this time of the year because it just looks fabulous in Green River. And then I had the privilege of actually going to the the governor's breakfast last Wednesday. And he was discussing about the BLM issue. So it was informative, but it's anything that we don't already know. So it was just nice to be there. Like I said, it was a privilege to be there. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Good. Thank you, Councilwoman. So I just want to reiterate what a number of people have said and a number of people that were there that the Christmas tree lighting was great. The Christmas tree looks really good. Appreciate the fire department 6+ hours and getting the lights on there. Certainly appreciate, and I don't know if streets does some of the lighting, putting up some of the lighting or not, but I know the parks does. And so all over town, it looks great. And, those guys, I saw them up there on the lift and not the nicest weather for hours and hours. So we're very grateful to them. And also, I want to give a shout out to the businesses, the people that decorated the trees along Uinta, but the businesses and the residences throughout the community. It looks nice. And in the community spirit, it adds to our community. And I think it speaks well of us and appreciate everybody's efforts in that regard. And the sales tax was, I don't have the little numbers, but it was basically $1,033,000. Of course, we budgeted 850, so that comes out to about 188,000 above, so it's just another month in which we've exceeded. And these numbers go back to where we collected those kinds of numbers. They go back 5, 10, 12 years in a lot of circumstances, a lot of the months that we've collected. So we're doing well. I always want to remind people that when we're as far behind and when you have, as Mark has pointed out, I believe, if I'm correct, $180 million worth of street projects. What? $188,000 doesn't go very far. There we go. Or a pickleball court. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor,
Councilman Shuttrin.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.